Well, good morning and welcome to Zen Fits. Well, America is having a fit today, as you know, and that's why it's the big crack heard around the world happened yesterday evening. Breaking news, that crack. This is really breaking news. Most of it's just minor stuff, but this one shatters the glass. This one is about to, the dam is about ready to bust here. So I could not help recall one of my favorite poem by Yeats, The Second Coming, and I thought I would read that. And then when I Googled it up, I realized that it's a Google thing associating this poem, which was written about the First World War, with our own time and with Trump and what's going on. And I constantly I came across this poem in my studies of Zen, and so it's really about our own center, our own ego, when it can't hold. But let me read the poem, and then we'll see if we can relate this to the current situation and our own situation. So, the poem goes, The Second Coming by Yeats, turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the sinner cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world, the blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are these words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and a head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Isn't that an amazing poem? And the first part of it, really captures the feeling of the loss of center, turning and turning in the widening gyre. You can see the falcon cannot hear the falconer. The tether to nature. The falcon is nature, the falconer is man. The communication is gone. Things fall apart. The sinner cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. Death is loosed, the unknown death is loosed upon the world. The ceremony of innocence is drowned. The ceremony of innocence would be the institutions, the ceremonies that hold things together, rational voices. The best lack conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. So, this brought me back to our talk about ambiguity, and my favorite Gestalt picture here of the young woman and the old woman. And just to go back and redefine what's the difference between ambiguity and a dilemma? Well, ambiguity is where we've pretty much been living in the last 40 years between the left and the right, liberal and conservative. Ambiguity is two equally satisfactory ways of viewing reality, two ways of viewing reality, two ways of being in reality, two different worlds, two different left world and right world, Democrat, Republican. Whatever happens, each side, each world takes, if this happened, each side has a different meaning for it. And each are equally valid. So that's an ambiguous situation. And now here's where the old Gestalt comes in. If you notice, you see the young woman or the old woman, you can only hold one if you hold the center. The picture of the old woman would be the center. Try and hold it. The center can't hold because the young woman will press forward and come into view. And the old woman will fall back, you won't see her. And then try to hold the young woman. And you can't hold it. The old woman comes into view. So this is kind of like a visual example of our country now, our society, in its match between left and right, both of which have equal power. We keep, 50-50. It's like a tennis match between two master tennis players. Neither can defeat the other. So the game bong, 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 oscillating back and forth, old woman, young woman, left, right, Democrat, back and forth, wah, 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 you see. So we kind of get used to this oscillating. We've been living in this oscillation between yes and no. Yes, the old woman is the truth, is the picture, is the world, and the other side says no, the young woman is the world, and so we vote them back and forth, you see. And the president is the one who more or less is the center that holds this together. So if you believe that the old woman is the reality, then you elect a president who will affirm the old woman view. And the young woman view falls into the background, out of power. So then we elect the young woman, a Democrat, or whatever, and then she and the president hold that. So you get these two views, neither one can hold the center. Well, something is happening now, and now it becomes a dilemma. So ambiguity is where we've been living. And we just accepted that's just the way things are. But now, what is a dilemma? Well, a dilemma is ambiguity in where you have to choose one and hold it. You can't oscillate back and forth anymore. And you can't choose one. That makes the dilemma. You have to choose one, but you can't. Because they keep back and forth, you see. So there is a growing, since Trump has been elected, there's been we elected somebody to overthrow turn over the apple cart, and but you never get what you wish for. I mean, things are unintended. In other words, if you really vote to get the apple cart thrown over, you don't know what the world's going to look like when the apple cart is turned over. So we don't know what the world's going to look like when this old ambiguity is thrown over, when it's not just Democrat or Republican, left or right or left, blah, 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 blah. Something is the falconer, in other words, the center can't hold. And when the center, you see, the center has been this ambiguity. In other words, we have been habituated in this ambiguity of two balanced worlds, left and right. Each one cancels out the other. And then they back and forth. Democrats win for a while, then Republicans, then Democrats, up, 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 up. But they're worldviews, you know. So now we have like put a grain of sand in this oyster. And the oyster cannot stand this. There's something irritating it. Something is doesn't fit. Something is cracking the dam. There are cracks, crack, 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 you see. And the crack is Trump. So there's this today, you know. So today we had, you know, with the the tension has been growing, and the dam cracks were little, but with the firing of Comey, it was a huge crack. And so what is the second coming in the poem? It was rather, this was written in World War I, so it's a rather gloomy, to say the least. This beast slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. What is this? This is the fear of when the center can't hold, what's going to be born? Well, the poet here fears the beast, but what's going to happen is that this tension is going to grow. You can't put the tension back in the box. And at some point, there is going to be a dramatic shift. There's a tipping point will reach. A tipping point is when, like in a lab, when you put some solution, and all it needs is a tap on the test tube to make the crystals form. Or nitroglycerin just needs a tap to explode. So at some point I really feel, that there is going to be a dramatic shift to restore the center, and we really don't know what the new center is going to look like. Because when the old center is destroyed, the old game is destroyed, we don't know, because it's never existed before, we don't know what the new game is going to be. So that's where that's kind of like the beast, we don't know what this beast is going to be. That slouches to be born, you see. But I always have an optimistic view because, well, one thing we have an institutional fabric. We could say a character or a character strength is our institutional strength that will hold when the anarchy looms. In other words, other nations don't have this character strength, which is our institutional strength, and we really are testing it now. We're really appreciating it now, because the beast slouching towards Bethlehem to be born is the beast when your institutions fail. And they are really the dam that hold back the waters of anarchy, you see. So we can look at other societies, other countries where Syria, all these other countries where we see examples of what happens when anarchy takes over, or when the military becomes the dam to hold back anarchy, you see. And so we're really blessed with this institutional interlocking dams that's our Constitution, this interlocking check and balance of dams that hold back the anarchy that threatens any dam. Any dam is always threatened by the pressure of anarchy, you see. And so this is a real test, and I really think that there is going to be so up to this point, you see, the right has been saying Trump was good, and the left is bad. Okay, so this is kind of like it's a yes/no thinking. The left says he's bad, the right says he's good. And so it's kind of like a child standing at the light switch in the living room, and he's flicking it back on and off again. And the father says, "Will you stop doing that? Leave it on, one or the other." So this back and forth thinking has brought us to this moment where we can no longer be like a child flipping the light back and forth. Democrat, Republican, Republican, Democrat, Democrat. Something is happening to break this up and transcend this thinking, because you cannot restore a new, cannot create a new order out of yes and no thinking. Yes and no thinking creates machines, but you can't create a new world through yes and no thinking, because it's always flipping back and forth, like this. Yes for the old woman, then no for the young woman. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You see, what is the one that has no second? What is the unity? The new order is unity restored. So we've really been going through, for the past 40 years, this unity broken. America has become broken into two equally divided political worldviews, which have become identities. So we identify as a liberal, we identify as a conservative, and actually see the world differently. This cannot be sustained, you see, because the nation is one. America has to be a unity, so we have to restore unity, or the one that contains both the left and the right. So the one contains the yes and the no, but we have lost the one that holds the two. And now this cannot be sustained. And so I feel, that the people elected Trump, not knowing exactly he had a lot of promises and all that, what he was going to do, but what they really elected was something they could throw into this tennis match that never ended, that would break it up. Not really knowing what the breakup meant. This is an unconscious, it's like life itself. Life itself is going to break up this oscillation. Well, take this pair of objects, here's the left and the right, and they're just going round and around and around, each mutually dependent upon the other for its definition. The conservatives will say, "Who are you?" "Well, I'm not liberal. I'm not Obama." And the liberals says, "Well, I'm not conservative." So each one defines themselves by not being the other, and they just go round and around like that. So this cannot be sustained, because the world changes underneath it. New generations come, and the pain and the anxiety and the futility of this, because nothing gets done. Nothing gets done here. It just keeps going around and around, back and forth. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And problems grow. Everything is changing. The world is changing, and we can't meet the problems of the world in our society as long as we're going around in a yes, no, you see. A dog chasing its tail. So I really feel that this is coming to a crisis, a panic attack, a nervous breakdown, which is all what happens when the center can't hold. That's what a nervous breakdown is. The center that's been holding you together, that integrates your world, falls apart. So the whole thing collapses. And the beast slouches towards Bethlehem to be born, you see. But the beast is also a new unity. So it looks like the beast is coming, but then when the beast is born, it turns into a Christ. It turns into a resurrection. So maybe this is the cross we're going through here, the crack up, the break up, the destruction of this old order that has run its course. This old order of yes-no thinking, of left and right, right-left, this civil war, this value civil war, has to come to an end, because the world and life demands that it comes to an end. The rest of the world demands that this comes to an end. And so, in a way, you know, I really feel like Trump is a vehicle for this, but not in the way we think. Not as the Christ, the Savior, but as the destroyer. And this is interesting because in Hindu mythology, destroyer, destruction, and creation. Shiva is the destroyer and the creator. So first the destruction, then the creation. So in this sense, you know, something is being destroyed here and something will be created. But we don't know what will be created. So this is what I really feel that the tension is reaching a point where there's going to be a dramatic shift, and the deck's going to be reshuffled because the old solitary game that we've been playing has lost its meaning and has lost its reason to be. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the second coming. And I'll be with you this evening at Martini time.